Welcome guys. So in our previous video we have talked about create DB utility and how we create a database in PostgreSQL. In this video we are going to talk about create a user, how we create a user in PostgreSQL. Okay, so let's start the video. So we can create the user with the same two ways as what we have in creating a database with create user utility and with the shell script command uh, create user. Okay, so let's first talk about create user utility, which is provided by PostgreSQL. It's inside your bin folder. So create user creates a new user. Postgres only super users and users with create role privilege can create a new user. Okay, so if we created a super user or we have created a normal user and granted create role to that user, so that will be able to create the new user. Okay, so DB users are global across the cluster, so we need not to mention the database name with which we want to connect if we are not connecting to Postgres user. Okay, we need to mention the database name. Okay, if we are not and but we can connect to any database just mentioning the database name, and any user can access any database, just need to mention it. So we cannot have a user with pg underscore keyword, but this is reserved for Postgres SQL directories. We can also have a interactive utility for Postgres SQL with the create, which is uh, working with create user utility. We can mention create user and then interactive mode, and then it will be creating a new user and asking few things related to that, and you will be able to create a user. You can alter the user password after creation using this, and then setting a new password with this alter user with password new. Okay, so we can here are the commands for this create user for using the create user utility. Okay, so with no super user privilege we can use both things: create user hyphen new postgres hyphen capital B hyphen S username. So after this you need to enter two times the password for newly created role, and then one time for the postgres as we are using postgres. Okay, so here in this command hyphen capital U is for connect to the postgres user, this is for user. Okay, hyphen capital P, that is for asking a password for this newly created user which we are creating. And then hyphen capital S, this is for no super user, this we are creating is no super user. And if we mention hyphen small s, then the user will be created with super user role. Okay, so these are things we need to remind, or we can check them in the help section of this utility as well. Now inside PostgreSQL prompt, we can use this command: create user, the username, and then login, no super user. We are not going to create a super user here, so mentioning no super user, and then password of the user. Then again with the super user privilege we need to mention create user, username, login, super user. We need to mention login super user here, and then password, and then password for the new created user. Also if we are using uh, connecting using other users, like we are not going to connect to Postgres, or if still if we are going to Postgres user, then the default uh, database for Postgres user is Postgres, so we need not to mention it. But if we want to connect to some other database, then we need to mention it. If we are also connecting through a different user, then we need to mention the database name, which is from hyphen D, psql hyphen capital U, this is for username, then username hyphen small d for the database name. Okay, So if, when we are using Postgres user, then we need to mention PSQL -u Postgres, and that will be connected to Postgres user, which is the default database for Postgres user. As a Postgres is super user and everything, so that will be we will be connected to Postgres user. So thanks, and let's move to the lab. Just a minute, let me see. Okay, okay, okay. Clear screen. CLS. Okay, okay. So let's see. We are going to use the create user utility inside bin. Okay, so it is in here. Here we are using -u for user connect as Postgres user, -V to ask for new password for this user, -S for no super user. Okay, let's see. Okay, so for this newly created role, the password again. Now I need to enter the password for Postgres user. Okay, okay, that is already existed. Okay, so let me create max. Okay, so we have created here. Okay, let's see. See, Mohan was already there. We have created max, but it's not super user. We can grant it. You'll see it later. So let's see if we create the user, create user interactive. Okay, enter the name of a role to add. We can use Peter, super user. Okay, yes. Password. Oh, I'm sorry. That was I had entered the wrong password. Then Peter. Yes. Password for Postgres user. Oh, I believe I need to enter. Oh, yeah. I believe to mention capital U and then Postgres, then interactive. Okay. So Peter. Yes. Password for Postgres user. Okay, Peter already existed. Oh yeah, Peter is already there. So I need to mention some. Oh, we can mention Peter too. Yes, and then password for Postgres user. So that is created. Let's see if we have Peter too. See, we have Peter 2 here. We have created super user Peter 2. So how we change the password for this user? We can use this alter user Peter 2 and then the password Peter 1 2 3 4. Okay, so let's issue this. Okay, so we are moved out of this. Let me try to connect to this Peter. PSQL -u Peter -d post. Okay, we can use test user test database as well, as we have that test. The password is Peter test. I believe Peter 1 2 3. I believe I was entering some wrong password for Peter. So I've tried it here and it was working with Peter 1 2 3 4, which we have cited. Okay, so let me move out from this, and I need to drop some users. I have created many users. Drop user Mohan. Let me see if I can. Okay, so that's I cannot drop because I have some users. Let me remove the newly created users. Max. Okay, drop user, then Max dropped Peter. Drop user Peter 2. Okay, so now we have, okay, Scott. So let me drop someone as well. Okay, so okay, so now we are going to create the user with utility. We have used both these things, create user utility and the interactive mode, both. Now we are going to create user with shell script. Create user, the username, and then login, no superuser, then password is x123, whatever you like. Okay, so let's see, our role is created. Okay, it's no super user. Okay, let me try to connect from here. psql-u. We have created max -d postgres and the password for max. Okay, we are connected. We have created the max user here and connected to it. Okay, so it means we are done. Okay, so we have used this as well, create user utility. Now we have created this user max with no super user. Let me create a user with super user. We can use uh, this max. I haven't copied it. Create user. This text just related to max. Okay, so text. I have not mentioned no here. I am just mentioning super user, so it will be created with super user privilege. Let's see. So max and text both are created. Max is without supervisor privilege and text is with supervisor privilege. We can grant with superuser as well to do text if we want. Grant with superuser. Okay. Interactive option we have already talked about. So that's all with you. Let's try to grant the user which max. Okay. So let's use max here with super user. You see, max is not super user here. Let me. Okay, so if we see, so we have 4 super users. If we do it again with no super user, we are doing it for max. Okay, so let's see. See, the super user privilege from max has been removed. So you need to mention no super user. So that's how you create the users. You can use create user utility, or you can use shell scripts anything, and you can grant or revoke permissions for super user, so that the user can create or cannot create other user. So that's all about the create user in PostgreSQL. We'll be talking about in next lectures in our next video. Thank you.